excited to hear that Triot has returned to CycleCon this year, and with me right now is Mike. How you doing today?
Great. How are you, Gary?
Doing good. So Mike's going to tell us a little bit about some of the new items and technology here at Triot, and we're going to start with this trike right here. What do you have?
All right. So this is the sport model. This is one of the, I guess, the base version to kind of cut to the chase. So this one is getting in at a special price point, and what we did is we still have a front suspension which has half an inch of travel down here on these A-arms right there. So that suspension does offer a little bit for the folks who are still trying to get in at the price point. So we've got half an inch of suspension up in the front on these little dampers. There's one here and one right in here. But that doesn't sacrifice the suspension that we've got down in the back. So in the back of the bike, way behind the seat, you've got 2 inches of travel that is still present like it is on the other Triot trikes. This particular one is outfitted with an electric battery assist. So you've got the motor in the rear wheel, the battery right here by the suspension. This is provided by Electric Bike Outfitters, who is also here at the show. I assume you guys are covering them. And with this, the bike does come fully assembled aside from the seat. So you just got to install the seat in the position that you want, and then you're ready to rock from there on out. This one does have the regular chain and derailleur, again, coming in at that awesome price point. You still got the Triot brakes, you've still got the Triot chain in the front and the center of the bike, and all of those great innovations packed into this great trike.
And so would you say one size fits all then, Mike?
I would, yes. So this particular trike is specialty made. The seat goes front and back so that you can get a size of any rider on there, down to like 5'2", just as a ballpark, up to like 6'2". The kind of range that you can get on just this bike as we have it here is incredible.
Okay, and we have one more bike to take a look at, so let's go do that now.
We do, yeah. I'm really excited to share the cargo bike. This is one of the, it's not a pet project. I mean, we've been working on it a long time, and I haven't been doing a lot of the work, but I'm just really invested in it. It's so cool. It brings a whole bike to life.
Let's go see it.
Okay, so the cargo bike I'm really excited for. This one has the 20-inch tires on it with a fair amount of knobs on there for some traction, but the real magic that I'm really excited for is actually just the rack. So I say just the rack as if it's a small thing, but you would not believe me how much research and development and a fair amount of trial and error went into getting this rack just right, because it had to carry not only passengers, but also carry the cargo. So we've got pannier rails that are fitted onto the top of the cargo rack. So these are regular pannier rails that also have the depth down to the foot platforms that can still get a passenger on it and the right kind of bags. And with that, you can get the passengers in the kid orientation with the kid seat that we have in the back, or we got pads that can fit onto the top deck. And the kids can sit in here, okay. Adults, you definitely want them to be trained on cycling because, you know, having to anticipate the turns and stuff. So it's not quite like the special needs tandems that you see up in the other, like from Hasse and so forth. But if you get a skilled person on here, you can totally do a dual adult setup. This bike can carry 450 pounds as we see it here. So if you get like a 200-pound rider, you can get a 250 in the back, although I would swap it if it were me, and get 250 in the front. But you can get an immense amount of cargo, bags up in here, 6 bags carrying many, many liters for long-distance trips, for touring, all sorts of stuff. This rack really does emphasize all the great stuff about the Triot in the first place. All the design stuff that went into making it comfortable and durable, easy to ride, longevity. The cargo rack makes it so much more possible, so much more fun. And I'm really excited to show it off.
That's great. That's exciting. You know, Mike, maybe it would be helpful for those that are not familiar with Triot trikes to quickly go over some of those features that make it so reliable and safe. The way you have the enclosed, well, the frame, the way it's the enclosed chain drive and all that stuff. Give us just a highlight of some of the things that make the Triot so different than the other trikes out there.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to. So the Triot was designed from the start with basically a blank piece of paper and just going up from there. Instead of starting with traditional bike parts or traditional bike frames and then cobbling them together into a patchwork of things, it's totally ground up. And with that, we have a lot of innovations packed into just this one machine. One of the ones that you had mentioned was the enclosed chain. So throughout the length of the frame of the bike, you have the chain inside of that. if you got a customer with adaptive needs and they have only one power and a leg, they can still get the bike to ride in a straight line instead of tilting over to one end. Not just for that, but also the longevity of it. The chain lasts a lot longer without having all the road grime and the junk getting onto it. You can still tension it from the outside without having to take it apart, but internally that chain will last a good, is it 20 to 30,000 miles for a chain without having to touch it. So that's a lot of durability, a lot of adaptive cycling needs, all met with just that one thing. And there's so much more into it. The ride height is really high compared to a lot of the other bikes in the area, and we get that with the suspension. The double front A-arm suspension with 4 inches on each side allow this bike to maintain incredible control while keeping the ride height up there so that the customer doesn't have to stare down the bottom end of their bifocals to find out where they're trying to go. And incredibly, this bike also fits through a 32-inch door, or it's 32 inches wide, so it'll fit through a standard 36 door with no problem. You can probably get it through a few of the doors downtown, if you're lucky. Some of them are goofy, but you can get it through an incredible amount of not just daily life, but life on the trail. This is one of the easiest bikes to live with, except it doesn't fold.
Right.
So you do need to get a trailer or some kind of a device. You guys saw that trailer that goes vertically at the show here.
Right.
With one of those, you're pretty much set to take this thing across the country. And we have customers across the country, as we've been selling direct to consumer, who've been riding these things and loving them for years to come.
You know, Mike, the other thing I think of when I think of Triot that you don't find on too many other trikes is the belt drive. So can you tell us a little bit about how that innovation is part of the Triot trike?
Yeah, that's a good point, Gary. So in the rear triangle of the bike, this one's not the best to showcase it because it's kind of covered up by the cargo rack, but the rear triangle uses some pretty decent bike parts, such as the belt drive. So the belt drive is a regular belt drive from the bicycle world, interfacing with, in this case, a Rohloff internally geared hub. Inside of there, you have a very, very wide gear range to work with so that you can power this thing from a very steep hill, despite the fact that it's got 3 wheels and it's very heavy. On the other end of that, you can get to a pretty high speed, although most of the market isn't terribly interested in that. And yeah, the rear triangle can be outfitted with a different size of wheel because of another one of the innovations we have, which is the adaptable dropouts. So the dropouts, the part that the wheel and tire fits into, can actually be modified just right here with some basic tools. Where it goes lengthwise, you can actually put the dropout just half an inch back, and you can also get it up just a little bit more so that it can accommodate a different wheel size. So in this bike, we can pull out this 20-inch wheel, and without having to change the entire bike or the seat stays or any of that stuff, we can change it to operate on a 26-inch, 24. I mean, you've seen some of the options that we have here. There's a lot of variability without having to stock a showroom with a bunch of different frames and having to chew everything up just to get to the right customer.
That's incredible flexibility, so that's really good. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to show us around the Triot booth and showcasing a couple of really interesting trikes. We appreciate it.
Yeah, very happy to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.